conferences. I I thank on behalf of our FDP cell for accepting our invitation. I request K. Babulu sir, please come and deliver a lecture. I request all participants, please welcome K. Babulu sir.
Good evening to all of you. Is it hearable? So, at the outset, I am thankful to Professor Jayasoma Garu, Director of Faculty Development Cell of our University, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Gurujada, Vijayanagaram, for giving this opportunity. And my dear respected other officials of the university, Registrar and Honorable V.C. Garu, for accepting me to act as a resource person for this particular FDP, Faculty Development Program. So, I hope that this is a generic topic which is to be known, most of you, what are the things I am going to explore before you may be known to all of you. Once we want to recollect what the knowledge we have in the concept of research methodology. So, whatever I would like to tell about this topic, research methodology, simply I kept it in the PPT. So, simply you have to go through the important topic.
As the name suggests, non-engineering or engineering.
Through PPTs itself, not by my lecture alone. So, my name is Professor K. Babulu, Professor of Electronics and Communication Engineering, and presently I am holding the additional post of Director, Research and Development and Admissions of our University, JNTUGV, Vijayanagaram. Now, next. Remote is here, huh? Okay. So, I am going to focus on the topic of research methodology. So, simply what are the considerations and what are the requirements to perform the research?
As the name suggests, checking of the data again and again to get the productive output.
So, the topic is to be research methodology. So, instead of using every time research methodology, use it to word as a RM. Okay. So, I would like to concentrate on these basic contents, the definition of RM, and aims, objectives, and questions which are going to be arised in particular RM, research methodology, and what are the various methodological techniques are available for research methodologies. In order to perform the research, everybody requires a collection of the data. So what are the various methods are available for collecting the data to perform our research? And we have to analyze the data. After collecting the data, we have to make the analysis. So what are the various analysis methods? And finally, we have to know and we have to conclude how to choose the research methodology. So basic definition of research methodology, you observe here specific procedures or techniques with respect to identification, selection, and processing and analyzing. So we have to perform different procedures and techniques to comply the concept of research by identification, selection, processing, and analysis. The information about a topic of interest, the last point is very much required. That's why anybody, those who wants to perform the research, last topic is to be required. That means interesting concept is to be required. That's why in general, even in our undergraduate as well as postgraduate level itself, project level we are going to give the choice to the students, not to the teachers. Why? Because if they have interested on particular field or topic, they may have involved very much in a deeper manner. So that is to be valid for the research also. So whatever the different procedures, techniques we are going to adapt to the information of your topic of interest. So further we exploring the meaning of that research methodology. So you observe here simply refers to the practically how of any given piece of research. So whatever the material is available with the help of the adopting methods of data collection, for every topic you have to be explore how we got it. What is the information, how we can able to explore it. The meaning of how itself is act as for the first step of our RM. So how a researcher systematically designs a study to ensure valid and reliable results which addresses the research aims, objectives, and questions. We will discuss about aims, objectives, questions later, which are the most important part of research methodologies. If you want to take it out a simple example, if you want to perform a particular a topic, if you want to perform a research, a simple example you have to quote it here. What data is required to be collected and what data has to be ignored. So required data has to be collected, not unrequired data has to be omitted, has to be identification first. And if you have to go for collecting of the data, how to collect and how to analyze it. That's why those collecting of the information and analyzing of the information is going to be elaborated much more in data collection methods and data analysis methods. So this is the elaborative definition of research methodology, RM. So as I have informed you earlier, aims, objectives, questions plays a dominant role. So you observe here the research, those three aims, objective, questions, collectively called the golden thread. In terms of RM, those three combines together may be termed as a golden thread. Almost very much important we need to get right when you are drafting or crafting a research proposal, dissertation, or thesis. So after completed our research work, suppose one topic you have been completed your research work, at end the major important role is to be preparation of the thesis or dissertation. So while preparing that, that means what is the meaning of this is not only starting of the research, by concluding the research also you should have to, depending upon the most important thread, that means you may termed as a golden thread, is to be aims, objectives and questions. The three elements bundled together, all these three are taking into consideration together. It is extremely important that they align with each other. One is depending upon another one. That we are going to elaborate with suitable examples in later slides. And the entire research project aligns with them. So, up to now we may have aim, objectives may be equal. Aim of our research, the objective of our research, maybe as far as our knowledge, basic knowledge is concerned, we may treat those two are equal. But once you go in a deeper manner by considering the golden thread of golden thread concepts of research, those two are different. That we are going to be elaborated now here. The golden thread needs from start to end, just I have been given a word. Whatever the importance we are going to
Hell.
So it is the procedure to use mic. Okay. I don't like to tolerate the procedure. Okay. So these three aims, objectives, questions plays a dominant role of our research, starting from research to end of our research. Now we will concentrate on aim. So as already informed you just now, aim, objectives we use to treat it as equal. But if you are considering, for example, a practical experiment in our course, that you may treat it as an aim. So which may not have more number of objectives, maybe a single objective. You are going for a level of project, undergraduation or post-graduation or PhD. Then objectives may be increased depending upon the aim. So here, first we will concentrate what is meant by aim. That too, research aim, not with respect to the projects and lab experiments. Here we are concentrating the terminology relevant to the research. So that you assumed that we are concentrating on PhD, not on BTech and MTech. Okay? So aim or aims is a statement which reflects the broad overarching goal of the research project. The aims are fairly outlines the general direction of the research and what is trying to achieve. Actual directions are going to be obtained from the aim, in what way we have to perform our journey to complete our research. True to the name, research aims usually starts with the word, this research aims to, this research seeks to, and so on. Examples also have been presented here. If you want to consider a particular case, how to write the aim.
So you assumed here is to be wherever the case is there, you have to be assumed that that is relevant to the research issue, research level. The research aims to explore performance of architectures at different frequencies. So in terms of our communication terminology, we consider a particular example, aims to performance of the architectures. So you try to understand here is, architecture itself is a complex word. So here aim is to be explore performance of the architectures. What I want to say here is, the architectures are already developed. Architecture, once we have developed a particular structure, means you have to develop so many, starting from component to whatever the level we have. So architecture has to be developed. Such type of architecture itself is a project if you are going for. So here, performance of architectures at different frequencies. So seems to be a complex. So defining aim of a particular research work is not so simple. And I have given one more example here. The research aims to explore. The term explore is important at this case. Explore employee experiences of digital transformation in retail HR. So what I want to say here is, explore employee experiences with respect to the requirement of digital transformation. You have to explore the employee experiences. That means every step of experience of the particular employee has to be taken into account, and we are going to explore that employee is to be suitable to the particular HR. That means in our wherever the HR is one of the steps for a recruitment process. So we have to explore of employee experiences of requirement. Our requirement is to be also to be comes under aim. So you have to be provide last point, high level description. That is the final meaning, what I want to say. So aim of a particular research, whatever the research we are going to choose in, is to be a high level description. That means we have to study the path from starting to ending, and you should have a crystal structure in what we have to approach our work. So research aims, which is to be very, very important parameter in order to pursue our research. Objectives. So here, the research objective takes the research aims and make them more practical and actionable. So whatever the aim, in order to finalize the aim, research aim is to be difficult. Once you have identified the research aim, you have to identify the objectives from the research aim. With respect to what parameters? Practical aspects as well as the result oriented. Actionable means result oriented. So in other words, if you want to explain that, the research objectives showcase the steps that the researcher will take achieve the research aims. Whatever the aim has been defined, we are going to be projected in the research objectives, a step-by-step approach, that too practically as well as the actionable means output has to be obtained. That means you should have a product output. So that's why these objectives need to be far more specific, high resolution and actionable than research aims. So once you have been defined the aim, it is the requirement of the aim is feasible and possible for the existing environment or not. Because our aim may be a good, but if it cannot be, that means actionable or practical result oriented, we cannot able to get the practical results, then definitely that aim, we cannot reach the aim at final. So that we have to define the objectives with the available resources to attain the required target as we defined in the aim. So here you observe here, the objectives should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time bound. That means you may have number of objectives, but we should have to attain all these things to get the final output. So examples has been given here. Realize the power efficient architecture using model order reduction techniques. You observe this example, you compare this example with the previous example. The aim example and the objective example. Here the word itself is a realization. So realization is to be possible once you know design with the, and after that design, if you have some environmental tools like simulators, analyzers or synthesizers, those are having, we can able to perform development is possible as well as the implementation is possible, so that we can able to realize it. So if you want to go for the realization, you have to come across so many abstraction levels. Those you may take, every abstraction level, we may take it as an objective. There is no wrong in that. Suppose if you are going to consider the second example, to access employee perceptions of digital transformation. So you are here is to be assess. Previous example is not like that. Here simply you have to concentrate on accessing the employee prescriptions, perceptions of digital information transformation detail. So with the help of those two above examples, we can stick with the topic and research aims we mentioned previously. So what I want to say here is, once you have been defined a research aim, you have to materialize that aim. In order to materialize that aim, we have to form the research objectives with respect to practical environments as well as a product output, that means actionable environment. Now questions. So in general, asking question is difficult. Giving answer is very easy, but asking questions are tough. Okay, that will experience when if you become a professor or a teacher. Asking questions are complex because answers, they may give any type of answer, but question should be a specific. So here also we have to, with respect to aims, with respect to objectives, we have to question ourselves. We are going in an approachable manner or not. So the third important parameter of our RM is to be questions, research questions. The research questions are, name suggests, key questions that our study will seek to answer. Simply they are driving force. So as you know, because most of participants are teachers. So that second point, if impose some question to the student, if they have given some response, either it may be positive or negative, definitely that will act as a driving force to the teacher. So asking question as well as the response of the question, both combines together will enhance our knowledge level. Either it may be by student side as well as the teacher side, there should be an improvement in knowledge. So here driving force are core purpose of the dissertation, that means preparation at end. Dissertation, thesis and project. We present at the beginning of our document, either in the document chapter or literature review chapter. That in general we are going to use the first chapter and second chapter, or introductory chapter and literature reviews chapter. And we have to answer them at the end of our document. That means where the questions are going to be arised. If you take it out as a documentation of the thesis, either it may be UG level, PG level or PhD level, we are going to be concentrate much more on first two chapters and last two chapters. So we'll impose, that means by exploring the topics what we are going to be written in those, will gives you so many review questions. That means research questions. So similarly, our methodology and research design will heavily influenced by the nature of our research questions. So asking question, already informed you, asking question is the art of a researcher. So once you have gone through the publication paper, if you are going to prepare the questions, while reading out the paper itself is a best literature review. So this you whatever the questions simply apply to the examples has been mentioned here. How to apply order reduction techniques for existing architectures? What are the barriers and facilitators of digital transformation retail HR? You go through 1, 2, 3. That means aim. First example, second example, linked has been written. The second one is objectives. One objective has been written. And third one is which type of questions are going to be arised has been mentioned in the research questions. So still we will stick with the topic and research aims and objectives we'll mentioned previously. So what is the meaning of the last point will gives you that if you want to generate research questions, you should be acquired knowledge with aim as well as the objectives of the research. So methodologies, research methodologies. So simply very, very important methodologies, and these methodologies are valid for any type of research. One is to be qualitative, second one is quantitative, and third one is mixed method, mixed of qualitative and quantitative. So if you go for qualitative, refers to the research. Qualitative research focuses on collecting and analyzing the words and textual data, whereas quantitative research focuses on measurement and testing using numerical data. So if you are going to find out the first type is to be collecting and analyzing the available data. The second type, that is quantitative, you are going to perform the practical aspects. And you have to verify your data, whatever the data has been reviewed or studied, has to be testing using required environment. So qualitative research can also focus on other softer data points such as body language or visual element. A quantitative methodology is typically used with the research aims, objectives are conferred in nature. The last point has been given here. The mixed method methodology attempts to combine the best of both qualitative and quantitative methodologies to integrate perspective and create rich picture. So what is this importance of this particular slide here is, irrespective of the field of research, the most important methodologies are these three only. And every methodology is having its own importance. A qualitative or quantitative or mixed are having their own importance. So everything has to be obtained from, either it may be first methodology or second methodology or third one, has to be depending upon two methods what I have been mentioned with respect to data collection and data analyzing. And not only that, theoretical data as well as the practical data and resultant data. All the things are going to be involved in these particular methodologies. So before going to, that means those methodologies are going to be elaborated or explored by using data collection methods and data analyzing methods just I have mentioned. So these are the main data collection methods. There are many different options in terms of how to go about our collecting data to study. And these are the different types of data collecting methods, collection methods. And we have been mentioned here for non-technical people as well as the technical environment. So interviews, focus groups and group interviews, surveys, online and physical survey, case studies, or comes under non-technical people. Maybe practical part is to be somewhat less. Whereas coming to the observations through practical experimentations, which is very, very required for our particularly technical people like engineering. Analysis methods. So data analysis methods can be grouped according to whether the research is qualitative or quantitative. depending upon two methods, analysis is going to be taken over. The popularly data analysis methods are a qualitative content analysis, thematic analysis, discourse analysis, narrative analysis, grounded theory. These are the technical terminology of the different data analyzing methods. In general, popularly using data analysis methods are, in particularly previous one is to be qualitative, whereas quantitative is to be descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. The last point what I have mentioned here is to be that you go through this particular things, the technical terminology of the analyzing methods. The choice of which data analysis method to use depends upon your overall research. So that is depending upon our research, which method is appropriate, which method has to be chosen is depends. And aims, objectives, and practicalities and resource constraints. The same such type of statement has been given in the earlier PPT also. Next, how to choose a research methodology. So research aim objectives have a major influence on the research methodology, as I informed you earlier. The starting point of developing your research methodology, and take a step back and look at the big picture of your research. Simply, this is to be actual procedure that you have to adapt to complete our, in general, research. If your research aims and objectives are primarily exploratory in nature, your research will likely be qualitative, and therefore you might consider quantitative data collection methods and analysis methods. So I have mentioned here what method if you want to choose, what will happen, what will be the output. So which type of data collection method you have been used, what will be the next analysis method is to be recommendable. So with respect to the data collection method and the data analyzing method, how we have to be explore your research to the practical environment. All these things have been mentioned here. All these things together, combines together, be useful to choose our research methodology. So research methodology, simple one format I have been given here. Designing our research and working out your methodology is a large topic. Hence, one always start with the research aims and objectives. Every methodology decision will flow from that. So simply formation of aim, then objectives and the methods, all these things has to be required to to achieve our target, and we have to go, every methodology is having its own importance, and we have to be draw the flow to choose a particular research methodology. Next, understand before choosing your methodology. What are the understanding concepts? So we have to be find out already understanding the options, as we have known the type of research methodologies, and choosing the research methodology depending upon these. The first three, qualitative, quantitative, mixed methods, are the basic understanding options of our research methodology, our research. Whereas choosing methodology is depending upon nature of the research area norms, and practicalities. So whatever the method or whatever the data collection or data analysis method or whatever the research methodology you have been used, definitely you have to focus, you have to be concentrate on practicalities. If it is not, suppose if you have not obtained the output, so you have collected so much of data, you analyze the data, but output is not obtained. At that time, definitely that means you have to, whatever the objective you have been defined as going to be nullified. So your aim has to be disturbed at that time. So that practicalities has to be taken into consideration for this particular research methodologies. That comparison between qualitative and quantitative, one and another is somewhat maybe a different in nature. So inductive approach, deductive approach, build theories, test theories, subjective approach, objective approach, open and flexible approach, closed and highly planned approach. So you those observe one to another. So qualitative, quantitative is to, because already we discussed it. One is to be concentrating on data collection, and another is to be concentrating on data analyzing with the help of the environments. So one here is to be, one thing is there, some different thing is going to be, not opposite. Don't treat it as an opposite. Different methodology is going to be there in case of a quantitative. So choosing your methodology. Choosing a research or research methodology, the important factors, once again what we discussed so far. The nature of your research, aims, objectives, and research questions. So this is the first point that we have been discussed. Second one is, what are the types of methodological approach we are going to taking into consideration. The methodological approaches taking into existing literature. Third one is experimental, already we discussed. That is practicalities and constraints. So each type of research, therefore, or research methodology, whether qualitative, quantitative, or mixed, anyone, has a different purpose and helps solve a different type of questions. So factors, I have concentrated on some of the important factors while choosing our research. The nature of your research. First one is the nature of your research. Depending upon very, very important three categories. The choosing the research methodology, if you are going to taking into consideration of nature of research, exploratory, confirmatory, a mix of both. Exploratory, confirmatory. So you have to be explore a different information of your chosen research. That is the simple nature of your research. And confirming a potential theory by testing it empirically, and building a potential theory and then testing it, and combination of those two. Second, choosing methodology required disciplinary norms. So choosing the right methodology for research also involves approaches, other researches in the field, similar research aims and objectives. That means that is the basically you have to be verify the first. Second one, disciplinary means just previous speaker already informed. If you want to go for patent level, you should have to verify thoroughly whatever the work has been done. Any fraction of the work has to be done by somebody else. Automatically that is going to be output is not going to be obtained. That means that cannot be selected for patent. Likely to be here also, the disciplinary norms means, that's why you should require literature review is very, very much required to overcome this particular second factor of choosing. So you have to find out the major benefit of reviewing the research methodologies. They are using to include up in the appendices of journal articles, that means references, the papers. So what disciplinary norms means, you have to be find out the information, get the information. With my experience, I will explain you at end in what way it is better to approach all these things in practically what I faced at the time of our research, which implies to whatever the terminology has been used in our presentation. So disciplinary norms are very, very important. This factor is going to be fulfilled during literature survey. Practicalities, automatically that will be, as the name suggests itself, is a practicality. That means you may have different constraints while performing our practical aspects of our different objectives with respect to our aim. So when choosing a research methodology, there will be always a tension between, there we have written a word, tension between doing what theoretically best. And this the nature of doing research, there are always trade-off, anything else, what constraints you ask, and simple methodological options, data access, time, money, equipment, software, knowledge and skill, all the things. You simply, last point I have been mentioned there, the practicalities, we have to verify individually depending upon our research aim is to be self-evaluation. Okay? The first one is the nature of the research. Second one is to be that means review of the research. Third one is to be self-evaluation. Self-evaluation comes under a practical approach. Once we are going for the practical approach, are we going in an appropriate manner or not? So, encounters, what we have to be performed with the researcher has to concentrate. Encounters the problem, that means aim, objectives, questions, data collections, data analysis, approaches, that means qualitative, quantitative, all these things if you have known, though you have to be satisfied. Once you are going to be, as a research scholar or researcher, you should have to know, encounters the problem, pick the problem, define the problem, propose the hypothesis, deduce the outcomes, formulate the revival hypothesis, devise and conduct referral tests, draw the conclusions. So you have, that means we are going to, I have written a simple word here, make it known to the world by publication. That means we may thought of that we got something else with the help of practical aspect. We should not be satisfied with the results. Again, you have to question yourself and starting from encounter, that means problem itself, starting from the problem and ending with the conclusion. Further, major steps. Those are what I have been given in the previous slide in terms of steps. So identification of research problem. This is the actual flow. Identification of the research problem, literature review, purpose of research, specific research questions. Questions not, in case of research, questions does not arrive at initial stage. Initial stage may not have much questions. In middle stage, we have infinite number of questions. And at end stage, we are in questions. Even though we have done results, practical results, comparison, performance analysis, everything is to be there. The questions are going to be taken part at the end also. So here, specifications of our work, choice of methodology, that means whatever the method we have been adopted is to be correct or not. Next, data collection and analyzing and interpreting the data. Okay. Specifications of a conceptual framework, choice of methodology, data. You have to go through that. Whatever the PPTs are coming on now onwards, everything is to be linked with those three. But everywhere we are going in a proper manner or not. Everywhere we are going to questioning ourselves. I will tell my experiences with my research scholars and my research term and in terms of this, what we are. Because as far as the technical terminology, I want to present it as it is. But practically, I will explain the example, I will narrate that. So analyzing and interpreting the data, reporting and evaluating research, communicating the research findings and possibly recommendations. These has to focus on research by the researchers. Flow diagram. So this is a flow which can be usually understandable here. Direct observation, clearly defined variables and environment. You observe the words clearly defined methods, empirically testable, elimination of alternatives, statistical justification, and last you have to think it of. There also self-evaluation is there. Here also you have to be self-correcting process. We are going appropriately or not with respect to the procedures, with respect to the objective, with respect to the aims, with respect to you have to impose the questions and we have to perform a self-evaluation as well as a self-correcting process. So this I have been by using your adaptive knowledge. So your work, you only knows these total steps. Nobody knows about your work in this particular flow. So important concept, how to prepare the research chapter. Once you know about this, because in general, in research, any research, the abstract is very, very important, and the contents of the thesis is to be very much required. That flow will explains the research requirements have been satisfied or not. So here, in dissertation chapter, if you want to consider how to generate a chapter, dissertation, thesis, academic journal article, that means preparation of journal article, a pretty much formal piece to research. You will find a research methodology chapter which covers the aspects mentioned above. A good methodology chapter in your thesis explains not just what methodological choices were made, but also explains why they were made. So many methodologies are there. Whatever the methodologies you have been adopted is not the important, but why you have been adopted that methodology. That is very, very important chapter in our RM. A good research methodology, bold points, provides scientifically sound findings. So scientifically means technically, theoretically, technically, practically, those are strong, correct. Whereas a poor methodology does not. That means if you have chosen the proper methodology, we can get the output provides scientifically sound findings. Next. Now, I have given a template in what way how to be prepared, what topics has to be prepared on our. So these templates will helps you how the total research thesis has to be prepared. So opening or introduction section, that means introductory chapter, and research design chapter. So opening or introductory section, design section, second chapter, design chapter. Third, philosophy, a type of research, strategy, time horizon, sampling strategy, collection method, analysis method, conclusion summary, additional resources. So if you have gone this flow, if you know this flow, you are excellently a good researcher. There is no doubt about that. Why? Because every topic is having its own importance and significance. So here may be template likely to be a chapter, but the preparation of the chapter is in our hand. So at that time you have to consider the all requirements as far as to fulfill your total research methodology. I have given everyone, I have some definition likely to be which important focus. The methodology chapter, purpose and function of the methodology chapter, the importance of the chapter or section, how to write the structure, methodology chapter, general advice for writing a great methodology section. That means how to, that methodology chapter, if you want to write how, what are the parameters or constraints has to be taken into consideration, has been elaborated clearly in this particular template. First, one by one, I will go fast, one by one. What is the meaning of that? Introduction chapter. So in general, this is used to ask our students also. You have to prepare the chapter in such a manner that the flow should be continuous, one to another chapter. So introductory chapter, very first section of our methodology chapter, The purpose of this section is to remind the reader of the golden thread. Golden thread means already I have informed. 3. Underpinning your dissertation or thesis. That is the introductory chapter by covering the aim or aims, objectives and questions. Second one, design. Very, very important, heart. So, the students, once we are using the word design, they will they will see us in a different manner. But you believe it or not, any part, either not only in electronics, anywhere, the term design will be the heart of the topic. So here, here itself they have mentioned art of methodology chapter, because I am concentrating on research methodology. So design itself also a heart. So we need to get specific. Design may not have different routes. Design should have a particular specific route. So specific, don't hold back on the details here. Next, philosophy. So as you know that philosophy refers to underlying beliefs regarding how data about a phenomena should be gathered, analyzed and used. That means you should have a way how to get the data, how to get the analysis and all the things. Type. After you have identified, explained and justified your research philosophy, the next section of your research design section will typically be the research type. So, after identification, explanation, justification, and with respect to the research philosophy, we have to, typically, you have to design the section which is a research type. Next, research strategy. A thought of as your action plan. So, research action plan, because it refers how you will conduct your research in practical terms based on 3 elements of your golden thread. Strategy means a particular plan. Action plan. Time horizon. Be sure to check what the norms of your institution by looking at past dissertation or thesis. So time horizon means once we are preparing our report, we should have to go through what are the such reports are available previously. So we have to verify. Maybe we may have done at the time of literature review, but at the time of preparation of the chapter, you should have to go through that such type of literature is there or not. Sampling strategy. So sampling, as a name, sampling. Sampling simply refers to what or who will be collecting data from. The right sampling strategy depends on what are you trying to achieve in your study, and it should align with the previous research design choices. So the sampling strategy means you have to, whatever the experimental part we are going to do, every stage by stage, you should have to verify with the sample. So you have to take it out the random sample and you have to find out the logic, what we are going to be designed. Similarly, in our research methodology also, we should have to test with the sampling. Next, data collection. Already we have been studied simply how exactly we have to collect the necessary data. And data analysis. You need to explain how to went about analyzing the data, what you have been collected. And we have to concluding the summary. That is, what you have presented, explained, justified, all your methodological choices. It is time to wrap the methodology chapter with a brief concluding summary. And last one is, now that you have presented, explained, justified all your methodological choices, it is a time to wrap up the methodology chapter with a brief concluding summary. So these things, whatever we have been given, so many, that means whatever research methodology chapter templates, topic by topic has been given. And this is for only reference purpose for those who are pursuing research. So for test formatting, we are having online resources available. And test formatting, so this is available commercially. And equation editing, math type, nowadays research scholars are doing with the help of this. This slide I have prepared with my research scholars, what they are doing, what they are using now. And latex article formatting, formatting references, and diagrams RF flow. So this is the simple research methodology introductions. So we will now we will discuss what basically we have to do. With my experience, I would like to explain with my experience as well as my research scholars' experience. Whatever the topic, basically, total PPTs, whatever the PPTs I have been presented, mainly concentrated on golden threads. One is to be aim, another is to be objectives, third one is to be questions. Then we have concentrated on research type, research methodologies, qualitative, quantitative, combination of both. And then we have concentrated on data collection methods, data analyzing methods. Then we have been studied what are the things have to be covered while preparing the final thesis. So once you got the output of the required aim, how to prepare it, the call, that means point by point we have discussed. So basically, by going through all the basics, this is only some part of, some fraction of information about the research methodologies. It is a version. If you go through the material, that's why nowadays undergraduation students also are going to be studying as a audit course or skill-oriented course, research methodology. So we are having so much of information is there, out of which I have taken only the headings, what are required. But basically, what we have to do, as we have been discussed earlier, the defining aim itself is a complex. Suppose once you have defined an aim, you should require what is your field of work, what is your application of your work. Identify, because in definition of the research itself, with your interesting topic, with your interesting information, you have to do a sequence of operations. So you have to identify what is your interesting area with respect to your specialization, with respect to your own interest, which has to be synced with respect to your specialization. Then once you have identified the interested area, what are the applications? So identifying area, identifying applications, those has to satisfy the golden thread. So you believe it or not, nowadays research scholars enter into, simply got admission into PhD program, simply they are not botherization of these things. They are not identifying the interested area. In definition of the research itself, that is there. You have to find out the first interesting area information. Then application. So you have to go through then literature review. So once you know the area, once you know the application of that area, then you have to collect the data. Data collection methods you have been studied. You have to collect the data, whatever it may be at final, whatever the headings I have been shown has to be synced at final. That has to be synchronization. There should be synchronization. Otherwise, we could not able to prepare the chapters. So once we have obtained that, my suggestion at this platform, in this particular content is, you have to identify the area relevant journals, you have to identify minimum of 5. Journals, not basic, as you know that day by day, the standards of the journals are going to be improving. So identify the wherever or whenever you are starting your research, identify minimum of 5 journals. And you have to, suppose you joined in this particular year, You go back minimum of 5 to 10 years. That means if you have joined in 2022, you have to go at least you have to verify the literature at about 10 years back onwards. That means 2012. So observe the 5 different reputed journals which are going to be taking into consideration for better research as on today. So you collect minimum of 10 years, at least one publication from 1 year. So 5 into 10. 5 journals, 5 into 10 papers means 50 papers should be on your hand. So you have to, that means why this will take much time. It's not a single day business. It is not the single day business because we are taking out the 5 important journals. Already our area has been fixed. Already our application has been fixed. Your journal has to support the area as well as the application. So whatever the journal you have been downloaded or you are going through, that should be useful to you. Otherwise, no use. That's why questions in that golden thread, questions place every step of our research mode. So if you have 50 papers on your hand, you will be the master of that application as well as your application as well as the area. Irrespective of your supervisor, co-supervisor, you have the confident idea about the 50 papers because you have done so much of exercise, that too on a present trend popular journals. Last from 10 years, every year one paper obtained. Definitely you will get an excellent exploring data. So many times they have used the word explore, and question. You have to question, your topic is there, your application is there, and your field is there. Once you have gone through that 50 papers, you take it as those 50 papers will be the reference chapter in first 50. You have to go through paper by paper, paper wise. You have to identify the objective. Now objectives will come. Because if you are going to collect from those 50 papers, at least 1 or 2 objectives are going to be observed. We can able to prepare 100 objectives. 100 objectives are not necessary for our research. So that as far as my presentation is concerned, aim you have to fix it. The aim has to satisfy and the synchronization with objectives as well as questions. So that you have to list out a minimum of one objective from each paper or 2 objectives for each paper. We can able to get a number of objectives. You consolidate now. 100 objects, if you have 50 objects in your hand, at least 1 objective from 1 paper. 50 objectives are there. Now you have to, analyzing method is there. With the analysis method, don't think that analysis means practical. Collection means only non-practical. No. You go through that and you elaborate the terminology what I have been explained to you. Definitely all the terms relevant to both theoretical as well as practical terminology. So then all these objectives, you make it as that means zip. That means you have to make it out of 50 objectives. You have to try to develop 5 or 4 objectives, which has to be synchronization of your aim. So you should have to link with that aim. While going through obtaining 50 objectives and while compressing the objectives, you may have so many number of questions. Questions are going to be arise. That's why that should be there in case of research methodology. Threatisms are those three are going to be come across from starting of the literature review. That part you have to do, and you think yourself. If you are going through thoroughly through the paper, every paper, and write down observations, a practical approach, resources what they have used, what conclusion they made, all these things you prepare by your own. Why? Because you go through some of the PPTs after going self-evaluation, self-analyzing, self-collection. Those terminology we have used. So you have to question yourself by writing all these things. For each, first one is to be aim is there. Next objectives you have prepared, so that we are going to get so many questions while we are going through the research paper. That thing you have to be done. Once you have done, then we can able to know what are the resources are required, in what way you have to go, how you are going to be compare, how you are going to analyze. All the chapters, template chapters, so many topics have been written. All these things came into existence. So I sincere advice to all the research scholars, those who wants to pursue, wants to do your research work, must do this work with your own, not depending upon your supervisor or co-supervisor. So many research scholars, what they are doing is, they are waiting for the supervisors or co-supervisors. That is not the part. If you have such type of 50 papers on your hand, 50 objectives are there in your hand, you know the area, you know the application, who will be the supervisor? No problem. Whoever may be the supervisor, definitely they will appreciate you. Because you have done so much of work, you know what type of practicalities you are going to come across, what are the difficulties you have been obtained, because every objective itself you are having so many questions. Everything you write down on the notes. You prepare the notes by your own. This is not my statement. That is there in our methodology procedure. You have to prepare the questions by your own. Try to get the answers from the different sources. And you prepare in that manner, definitely you may have an excellent idea. Then once you know the resources, nowadays, everybody is doing so much of thing, so much of work, but they cannot do the application of the work. You have done the work, what is the final result? Can you able to get the product? Can you able to utilize this particular research in any working environment? We are not going to botherization on that. But you should have to study where we have to test our work on real-time environment or some other industrial environment. So in this manner, you go through that, definitely you will get a good work at output, and definitely that your research work also to be useful to the academic institutions, research organizations, as well as the industrial applications. So those may be difficult, but you should have to part on that. And one more thing I would like to give you a suggestion to all of you, that everybody, they are concentrating to get the publications as per the guidelines framed by the university. They are not botherization of exploring their work to the different environments. So my advice, whether you may follow it or not, it is better to attend for IEEE conferences, reputed conferences. There is such platform, some platform will be there. Whatever the work you have done by your own, you are advised to present it. So definitely presentation skills will give you a confidence level on your topic. So not for the sake of number of publications of your research. Only for our self-satisfaction as well as the command over the topic, what we have done. Each chapter, one conference. Each chapter, that means introductory chapter is not required. Practical chapters. Each contributory chapters, definitely it is recommendable to go for one conference, IEEE conferences. And not only that, nowadays, all reviewers are concentrating on quality of the papers. So already I informed the first statement itself. You have to identify. Once you identify the area and application, next step is to concentrate on journals. Selecting of the journals is a big task. It's not a single day business. It is at least minimum 1 month if you are going to concentrate much. Only has to know, sir, these journals are dominant. Suppose, that means if you have to go through different resources, you can able to find out the name of the journals. Okay? So that you have to be planned in that manner. Next one is, here every resource is available on platform. Online, every resource is available. But only one thing they are, our research scholars are doing here is, they are entering into the program. Simply they are taking it as a light. That means not at a serious mode. And they are going, because of some constraints, they may have some, because of their constraints, they are giving some gap. Due to that gap, these golden thread cannot be obtained. So those gaps also has to be filled. You have to fill up. So that's why I'm telling you, whenever you are starting your research, on that day onward, as on that day, the journals should be a popular one. Somebody has joined in 2016. Due to some constraints, they could not able to carry out their work a maximum of 3 years gap. So they cannot confine with 2016. They have to concentrate what is going on our application and area in 2019. That has to be there, and there is no need to spend too much time. A fixed time, you have to fix the time per day, 2 hours or 3 hours you fix up. You continue, you find out the objectives as maximum as possible. I'm telling you again and again, aim will be only one, and objectives are more objectives, more questions are going to be arised. You try to minimize it, so that automatically so much of knowledge we can able to get at that instant itself. Then you have to consider, that means objectives has to be minimized. You work out on that objectives, you get the results, compare the existing results, grasp that means performance evaluation you made. Then you have to think it of the integrated model after going through all module by module. Once you got the integrated model, you have to be verify where I can able to apply this work, either in that means industrial format, platform, or research organizations, or somewhere else. You should have to work out on where my work is going to be tested on real-time environment. If you go in through this, in this level, any supervisor or co-supervisor definitely appreciate you, and you are going to get the degree within stipulated time of period. Okay? I hope that you may understand. If you have any doubts, please feel to ask me. Anybody? Okay. आप